Hello and welcome to Mr. Manley History Teacher's latest video on how to write essay answers for Paper 1 Edexcel Government and Politics A-Level. This is my first video on A-Level politics, and I hope you find the information, the advice and the guidance really useful in preparation for your Paper 1 assessment. So let's get started with the assessment objectives and what you need to be thinking about when you're writing your answers. So essentially what you're being tested on are these three assessment objectives. Assessment objective 1, the technical wording for it is demonstrating knowledge and understanding of political institutions, processes, concepts, theories and issues. Now, in simplistic language, that basically means demonstrating what you know. So AO1 rewards both knowledge and understanding. So you can't really gain that many marks by just showing some knowledge, so throwing in some facts or statistics or political names of political individuals or institutions. You need to be able to show the marker you have an understanding about what you're being assessed on in the question. So knowing means being able to describe, while understanding means applying what you know to different examples or events. Essentially, using what you know and applying it to evidence of events or examples, and like I said, showing the marker that you understand the focus of what the question is asking you. AO2, the technical wording for assessment objective 2, is to analyse aspects of politics and political information, including in relation to parallels, connections, similarities and differences. Basically, this means for any point you've made, you need to state what it is and why it works that particular way. It can also mean making connections from your point to other knowledge that you may have. So really, in this part, you're giving developed explanations and also making links and connections between different political knowledge that you might have. And finally, AO3, the technical wording for AO3 is to evaluate aspects of politics and political information, including to construct arguments, and that word arguments is very important, we'll come back to that in a bit, making substantiated judgments and draw conclusions. This basically means deciding how valid or invalid arguments are. You need to make sure, and this is absolutely key, that you have a line of argument throughout your answer to help you achieve high AO3 marks. So, in paper 1, you will have two 30-mark evaluate questions. So you have one 30-mark question from a choice of 2. You must complete one of these, and then you'll have another 30-mark question from a choice of 2. So you will have options here. Don't forget to read the question carefully and make sure you do just answer one of the first 2 questions and one of the second 2 questions. Don't answer 3 of the 4, or definitely don't answer 4 of the 4. Make sure you pick one of the 2 options that you have available, and those questions should take you 45 minutes to answer for each one. And then finally, you'll have a 24-mark question from a choice of 2. And this question, or these questions, will start with to what extent. Now, some examples that you could be asked for the 30-mark questions, you could get asked, for example, evaluate the view that the UK is facing a participation crisis, or evaluate the extent to which compulsory voting and lowering the voting age may be the best way to improve participation in the UK. So there's some examples of some evaluate 30-mark questions. Some examples of the to what extent 24-mark ideologies-based questions or core political idea-based questions are: to what extent do Liberals disagree over the role of the state? To what extent are there tensions in key strands of conservatism? So the 3 main core political ideologies that you should have learnt about are liberalism, socialism and conservatism, and you need to answer one of 2 questions that you're asked for that particular type of question. So how do we go about structuring our answer to a 30-mark question? So the following format is probably the most effective way of answering a 30-mark question. I'll create another video on how to best answer a 24-mark ideologies question very soon. So keep your eye out for that video in case you're wondering how to structure your answer to a 24-mark question. But to start with, you need to write an introduction which sets out what your argument is. Don't just sit on the fence. Make sure you make it absolutely clear what your argument is going to be throughout your essay. Then you need to break down the main body of your answer into 3 different sections. And in each section, you need to make sure you get across what your argument is, show an awareness of what an alternative argument or a counter argument might be, and then a mini judgment, also known as an interim conclusion. So the first section, you need to include an argument in favour of what you're going to be putting across in your answer, a counter argument, and then a mini judgment at the end, or an interim conclusion. Then you need, in your second section, another point in favour of your argument, a counter argument again, and then a mini judgment. And then finally, in your last section, maybe the least significant point of your 3 arguments, a counter argument, and then again a mini judgment. Once you've done that, you then need to write a conclusion, and you need to give a detailed justification, not just 1 or 2 sentences. Make sure it's detailed in terms of why you've made the particular argument that you have done throughout your answer. So an essay, in essence, an ideal essay has 3 sections, each with 2 paragraphs and an interim conclusion at the end. So there needs to be approximately 6 paragraphs in the main body. Now this sounds like a lot, but don't forget you do have 45 minutes to answer the 30-mark questions, whereas you just have 30 minutes to answer the 24-mark question. You don't have to have it entirely symmetrical or balanced. Don't forget, AO3 evaluation, the marker wants to see a clear line of argument throughout. So you want to show an awareness of different arguments, but at the same time, you need to have a clear direction in terms of the arguments that your essay is going in. An essay is an argument without balance, not a balanced piece with some argument. So don't forget, your main priority is to write an essay with a line of argument throughout, not sitting on the fence. So my top tips for how to answer a 30-mark essay question. Keep an eye on the time. You do only have 45 minutes to write each essay and half an hour to write your ideologies answer. I'll say again, keep an eye out for other videos that I'm going to create on how to best answer the 30-mark ideologies question. Don't forget to be forthright and don't sit on the fence. You don't want to be writing a balanced answer. You want an answer that shows an awareness of both sides of the argument, but you yourself need to make sure that you have a clear line of argument throughout. And don't forget, you need to make sure you show knowledge and understanding, make links between different pieces of knowledge and understanding you have, and give plenty of judgments throughout your answer. If you enjoyed this video, click on the like button and subscribe to my channel, Mr. Manley History Teacher.